Mama. I'm Courtney Cecil, proud mom of two boys and an organizational culture and behavior change executive. And I'm a believer in building a movement to help the burned out, overwhelmed working moms reclaim their control and free time so that they can confidently remain in the workforce without losing the sanity or themselves. Now, let's get started.
Hey y'all, I'm your host, Courtney Cecil, and I would love to welcome you back to another snack-sized episode of the Life Management System. Okay, so I've spent a little bit the past couple of weeks talking about holiday stress, and we're going to continue playing off that theme, most particularly in this episode around lowering your expectations. And then, of course, some of the tactical ways that you're able to do that. And let me start by telling you how I massively lower my expectations. So not just, I mean, almost every week of the year, I am full speed, 100% all in. But during the holiday season, I literally tell people I'm not going to leave my house. There will be friends that so graciously reach out to include us in things and say, hey, let's get together. I will do some of that sparingly, but for the most part, if you want to host me at your house on during the holiday season, I'm going to say, you know what, happy to have you here, but I am on the go all the time. And the way that I protect myself and the way that I get great joy from the holidays is just being able to spend time in my space because I don't get to do that often. So that's part of what I do to offset my crazy. And I want you all to start thinking about what that might be for you as well. And I'm going to unpack some ideas that might trigger something for you so you can figure out how to kind of offset your crazy, whatever the holiday season brings for you. Okay, before we get into that though, I want to acknowledge some of the pressures that may or may not be playing in some of the friction points that are causing you some of that stress. And one of the biggest is actually expectations from family. And it might be from your kids and things that they hope to do, or from your partner who has a very different way of going about executing the holidays, or it could be from your extended family, your in laws, whatever it may be. But the expectations family has on us can be suffocating, like truly suffocating during the holidays. So, once you're reflecting on that and how your family does or doesn't um, build some of that pressure for you. Keeping up with the Joneses is another one. So you look across the road and you see that all of your neighbors have lights on the outside of their houses. Well, if that doesn't light you up, no pun intended, if that doesn't make you happy, that's something to let go of. That's a pressure that you might be absorbing that you didn't realize. The same, like not just the decorating, but the gifts as well. If your neighbors or your friends' kids or whoever it may be, or the people you even spend time with, let's pretend the cousins all come to town or you spend it with the cousins. If they're doing more gift giving that feels right for you, that might be some pressure that is mounting. Um, the kids, like, gosh, I don't know about y'all. If your kids are old enough to draw, they probably have seen the Amazon catalogs, the Lakeshore catalogs, whatever it may be. I think we've circled every page, like every single freaking page. But a lot of times we feel pressure to give our kids what they want too. And that doesn't always serve them well. And then there's also just a lot of things to get done. A lot of our surrounding areas, we'll go all out for the holiday season with activities and that sort of thing. And they're always so much fun. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you value attending them all or that you need to do them all in the same year. So those are some of the types of pressures that you might be experiencing, or the sources of pressure, probably is the better way to put it. So I want you reflecting as you go throughout your day and week on whether or not any of those might be triggering for you. Okay, so despite how much magic you want to bring, let me level set, guys. You simply can't do it all. There are 24 hours in a day, and you might already be a freaking superhuman, but that doesn't mean that you can do it all, because at the end of the day, there still are only 24 hours in a day. So what I want to do now is unpack some of the ways that you can still make the season magical without breaking you, because it is 100% not worth tanking mom or dad or the bank or whatever it may be, just so you can pull it off. But before I do, if stress and anxiety are a thing for you, if they're a regular occurrence in your life, I certainly focus a lot on stress and I invite you to work together. But I also have a neuro tool that I use. I use it for sleep, but the Apollo Neuro, if you've never heard of it, is a stress and anxiety tool. It's a wearable that you can strap around your ankles, and it will essentially signal to your brain, hey, take a breath. So if you're interested in learning more, go to apolloneuro.com/Courtney Anderson. I'll drop that in the show notes. And then you can also get $60 off with code Courtney4. Okay, so let's talk about ways that you can actually start releasing that pressure valve a little bit. And the first thing is you need to get clear on what you value and prioritize. If you've been with me for a while, you know I always start there. So get really clear on what you value and prioritize and skinny down to just that. And those things become your traditions, because at the end of the day, those traditions are what makes family time a little bit stickier and gives everybody something they can look forward to. So for me, my boys, I actually did not intend for this to be a tradition, but they get really anxious about no bake cookies. And so it's like a chocolate oatmeal peanut butter cookie recipe. And they get really excited to make those. So that's become a new tradition for us. It's something I don't bake, I don't cook, I don't do anything. That's the one and only thing I do. I used to do it for a cookie exchange. And now it's been such a fan favorite of theirs that they're asking, like that's something that they're asking to do. So I'm going to lean into that. The other thing that I love to do with them that really requires no extra energy out of us is I make them wait to run down the steps and look at the gifts on Christmas morning. So my siblings and I did that. My parents put a stop sign at the top of our stairs, and it was an expectation. It was not just a thing that we would blast Mannheim Steamrollers music. My parents probably had a cocktail for all I know. My dad had his coffee, and we had to wait so my parents could see a reaction when we came downstairs and saw the gifts. And that's something that I very much value doing with my kids, because I work hard for that. Like I work really hard to afford the things that we put under the tree. And I want to be able to experience that initial joy with them. So those are two very easy traditions that have become a thing for us. For you, maybe it's decorating the tree together. I personally don't like to decorate the tree. Like I implement the 10-80-10 rule. So I come up with a vision that first 10%, and then the 80% my family does, or one of our house managers, and the last 10% I come in and kind of fill things out around the edges and make sure that it looks polished. So I don't value that, but some people really love it. I was with one of my girlfriends, recently widowed, this weekend, and she said they planned on going to the beach after Thanksgiving, and she said, you know what? My son is asking to decorate the tree together. He wants to go pick one out and wants to decorate the tree. And if that's what he values as a tradition, then I'm going to do that. So I have another girlfriend who takes her kids to see the Nutcracker. Our old au pair, Michaela, she was with us for 4 years, but her family always buys a game and they play the game the entire season. So it doesn't matter what it is, but I use those as examples to say, if you choose a couple traditions, we're talking 1 to 2, those become the things you prioritize and the things that you make happen every year. And it lets you release some of the extra noise that might be put on your plate that really just doesn't need to be there. And then when you have those priorities, when you know what you value, that allows you then to spin those around and use those to clarify expectations with others when they're asking you to do things or expecting you to do things that don't align with your priorities and your energy. So again, like I don't leave my house in December other than going into the office. I will gladly host people up here, but I never get to spend time in my own home. And I freaking love my house when it's decorated, and I want to be able to enjoy that. So that's like, that aligns with my energy, but I've learned how to politely say no or suggest alternatives. And my next door neighbor is actually a master at that. She's like, I don't even need, you don't need to give an excuse. You just have to learn to say thanks and no thanks at this time. So be prepared to say no, be very clear on what it is that you love and what it is that you're prioritizing. And then that way it will help orient you in your ability to say no. Okay, the other thing too is helping your family and friends reset their expectations of what might be projecting unintentionally on you. They might not know that them expecting you to travel to them or to bake a full dinner or whatever it may be is the biggest source of your stress. So use your alignment with your values and your priorities to help educate other people on what it is that you need. And oftentimes, when you think about stress that might be projecting onto you, that might be gifts too. There is a lot of societal pressure to have a full tree and a full, completely stocked with all the decorations. But guess what? It doesn't have to be like that. It just doesn't have to. So, one of the things that we do that I really appreciate is that Santa only gives 3 gifts. And part of that is just to make sure that when conversations are happening on the school bus or around the classroom, that people aren't able to say, wow, Santa got you a Rolls Royce and he got me a Pinto. Like perhaps poor analogy, but I don't ever want another kid to feel less than. For somebody that's supposed to bring magic to the season. So part of it is certainly for that. The other part of it is I work freaking hard for the gifts that we give them, and I want the credit. Like I want to be able to get that. So because of that, Santa only brings 3 gifts. And my husband and I and the gifts that we give have actually over the past, let's call it 3 years, been very oriented to experiences. And that's something too that when our in-laws are asking for, hey, what do the boys want for Christmas? Well, apparently what they want is the entire Amazon Prime magazine. But what do they need, or what would we like to give them? Often experiences. We want to, give them a ski lesson when we go skiing, or give them money to the arcade when we go to the ski resort, or whatever it may be. Like we'll give the ski trip and then y'all can give them a layer on top of that. So that way it enriches their experience while they're there. And of course, also contributes to saving our own pockets and things that we'd likely be doing for them anyway. So we really try to orient fairly heavily on experiences, and that becomes the gift from us. And sometimes that means like, hey, you're getting a suitcase. Hey, you're getting ski equipment, or you're getting snorkel stuff because my family goes to St. John a lot. That's our favorite beach vacation. But whatever it is, the gifts that they're getting are an orientation to that trip and just the practical things that they would need anyway. Last, if your kid is invited to something or you are invited to something, like let's take the holiday parties after the school holiday parties. Well, sometimes that's really hard to accommodate with your work schedule. I miss a lot because of work. And in fact, was told, and it breaks my heart a little bit, I was told this past week that I'm going to be traveling for the next 3 months starting December 9th for work. It was something I was voluntold to do. It was certainly not something that I volunteered for because I've already indicated I don't like to travel during December. I like to stay home. I don't like to leave my house if I don't have to. But turns out duty calls. So I will be on the road, but I know because of that, I'm going to have to miss my kids' holiday parties. And instead, I'm just going to have to think of an alternative that is special to me and to my boys. So it could be something like having a cookie baking party with their best friend instead, or taking them out to a nice hot chocolate bar or something, something of that nature, but something that will feel extra special for me to celebrate with them individually. But I'm just going to have to let that go. So the last thing, stop comparing what others are doing. Stop comparing yourself to them. That is often a huge source of stress on a day-to-day. And I think it's just amplified during the holidays. And that is just fundamentally unfair because we have different values, like every single person on this earth, even within the same family, values something differently. So we need to let that stress go. And again, you're not going to be able to do it all, and that's just okay. That is okay. But know, my friends, that you are enough regardless. Okay, so we've been chatting long enough. We have things to get back to. Me, on the other hand, it is rivalry weekend as I record this. I'm a huge college football fan. Most particularly, I'm a Virginia Tech fan. So it is time to go make a fire and tune in to college football. So if you haven't already gotten it, I would love for you to download my Time Wasters Guide. It's my top 10 things that people do that waste time. Much of it is not something you would suspect. You can get that at www.workingmomsmovement.com/time-wasters. You can get that in that link in the show notes as well. But I would appreciate if you're enjoying what you're hearing, share this with a friend, subscribe, rate and review us. I would be so grateful. Okay, until next time, friends, if nobody's told you lately, you're doing a great job. You've got this, mama.